What's up? Y'all doing good out there? Hope you guys are. I am, like I say every time, I guess, I am going to try to keep this pretty short. I just wanted to pop on here and give you guys kind of an update on what is going on and say hello to you guys. Bring you over here in the middle. Yeah, E-Rock, hey bud, what's up? Arizona Brown, nice to see you. Darcy, God's Israel. Glad to see you guys all can make it this morning. It is kind of early in the morning, at least where I'm at. It's about 6:20, 6:25 East Coast time. The U.S. of A. Elizabeth, Paul, Chris Allen, E-Rock again. Hey man, back at you. You're the man too, brother. See here. What else we got here? Christine. Sorry. All right. Got us some. You comment a lot, don't you, Christine? Or at least I'm getting more New Zealand viewers as of late. Cool to the aid. That's right, Root. Like that. Awesome. Elizabeth, Paul C, everybody. Arizona Raven. Hey, good to see you. I think I already said hi to Elizabeth, but Daryl, good to see you. Kimberly, Shannon. I am going to go ahead and just jump into this, guys. I don't see any mods in here yet. Please just kind of keep it a little bit, cordial for everybody. Constance, good to see you. Skywatcher, hey bud, what's up? So anyway, I am going to pull this over and start going through this stuff real quick. I'll leave you guys over here just for a second while I go over this part. We are, and I talked about this for about 10 minutes in my previous one. I wasn't going to do this again this morning, but stuff is still happening, so I just wanted to jump on here before I actually try to get some sleep. We are bouncing in and out of storm level right now, and this is going to continue. It's probably going to continue for the next, I'm saying 3 to 5 days. With that being said, I think we have a chance of getting a little bit stronger than just a G1 storm, which is where we're at right now. It's kind of popping into it, kind of going below, up, down, below. Okay, it's just all over the place right now when it comes to this, which is, we kind of see that a lot when we get these geomagnetic storms from solar wind streams. It doesn't stay constant, so it just kind of, we take hits. Sometimes we fend it off a little bit better than what we did. Sometimes it's a little bit less. And, so we really don't know. We got a good idea of what storm we'll end up in, but we can't just pin it down as soon as that stuff leaves the sun. There's too many factors that are involved. So, until they can get really good at that and make a good model of that with a good, algorithm of what to look for, I don't look for that changing. It may not even get much better in my lifetime. It's just a hard thing to do, guys. We're talking about, space, not a thunderstorm. So that's where that all comes from. But Amanda B, hey, what's up? Postman guys, yeah, we're all right. Yeah, love it. Yeah, Autumn, you're in Bloomington area? Awesome, Joe. South of IU, south of the campus. Yeah, I'm starting to see stuff up here too. Foliage is starting to happen. I think that, we may have a on and off again kind of thing with our foliage this year. We haven't, we had a really good rainy season, and it got really dry back and forth. And whenever that happens, our foliage, the intensity of the colors kind of varies pretty drastically. Now, when we have, if we get real dry too early, that's when the colors get all jacked up. They don't, they're not very intense. They're not as pretty, I guess is probably the best word to use there. And sorry for moving that chat around again, guys. I know it bugs people. It bugs me too. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it. So that's why I've been trying to concentrate. Once I get mods in here, I'll just drop the chat down. That way they can take care of that, and I'll just pop in every now and then. But anyway, I want to go over the magnetic storm levels here real quick, and what we can expect with each level. I've done that before a couple times. I'm just going to go through like G1 to 3 or something like that, and we'll make it quick. So anyway, a G1 minor geomagnetic storm, the KP has to be at a 5, which directly relates to a G1. When the KP gets to 5, automatically makes it a G1. All right. G1 storms, they occur about 1,700 times in the 11-year solar cycle, which I know that's a big number, and people get shocked when they see that, but it is the truth. So that's why I tell you guys, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, it's normal, okay? We weren't expecting anything less, you know. But anyway, well, some people were, but you know, they may not have known this number existed. So when they see that, it really kind of shocks them. It shocked me when I first seen that big number. Anyway, these storms can cause weak power grid fluctuations, minor impacts on satellite operation. These storms can have an effect on migratory animals in the northern regions. Okay. Obviously, the birds and stuff, they fly south. Anything that's trying to navigate any kind of distance, the animals will start having issues. Which is why the birds in Delaware, they're actually really good at predicting the hurricane seasons. They were right back in 2018, and every supercomputer and every meteorologist in the world was wrong. You know, some researcher figured that out watching these birds flying south down to South America. They were right, and it's amazing how the birds were right, and all these big-time meteorologists and all these big computers and stuff trying to predict this kind of thing. It was completely wrong. Very active season when everything else was saying it wasn't going to be. So that's historic fact. That's empirical. You can't even argue that fact because it happened. So anyway, G2 geomagnetic storms, when a KP of 6, well, that again automatically makes it a G2 storm. It says moderate geomagnetic storm is in effect, right? In each 11 years of solar cycle, we can expect this about 600 times. High latitude power systems may experience voltage alarms. Long duration storms may cause, and I want you guys to listen to this, okay? Long duration storms may cause transformer damage at high latitudes. So we're going to be experiencing this little extra long, it's really fairly long, 4 or 5 days in a row probably. And I'll get to why that is here in a minute. But anybody that lives up in northern Canada or even in Canada, you may see some stuff with this if it continues. So corrective actions may be required for spacecraft orientation. That's basically navigation of satellites, okay? And, the ISS and any kind of spacecraft that gets sent up. They have to pay attention to that. So G3, which is, I'm not sure if we're going to get up into this one. If we do, I don't see us going there and staying there very long. Usually when we talk about a G3, we're talking about a very, very intense solar wind stream or a CME or a solar flare that would cause this. Okay. Hey, Christine, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. G3 storms occur about 200 times in a solar cycle every 11 years. Again, I think those numbers are a lot bigger than what people think or knew. And again, when I seen these the first time, it did kind of shock me. And I look at this stuff all the time. Power systems may experience voltage alarms. Basically, everything that can happen in a G2 plus a couple extras. Okay, corrective actions may be required for spacecraft orientation. But I think the one that we really want to look at here is power systems may experience voltage alarms and require corrections. What that means is they'll trip out and they'll have to go. When I say trip out, I ain't talking like, man, they're freaking out. That's not what I meant by that. Some of the breakers, the bigger breakers, the fuses and stuff will pop, and they have to go out and fix them. So you're talking about probably short-lived power outages, off and on, sporadic type of stuff. That's what they're talking about there. G4, I don't think we're getting there this time, but I ain't going to say, I never say never, so about 100 times every 11 years, and obviously everything a G3 this can do too. And the old song, anything you can do, I can do better. It's kind of what I thought about there. But anyway, tracking problems on spacecraft, surface charging, which means that the surface of the spacecraft itself will actually hold a charge and can discharge and cause shorts, and basically it can actually destroy spacecraft for this. It could catch fire, any of that stuff from those sparks. Well, maybe not on a spacecraft, because I'm not so sure that they're probably not on spacecraft like this, unless it's a manned craft where it has oxygen. We have to understand that. Oxygen is a requirement for fire. That is why, you know, when I tell people about the sun is not on fire. It is a, you know, really basic term here, a nuclear fusion type of stuff, right? That's what's going on with the sun. There is no oxygen out there. It cannot be on fire. So, yeah. G5, I guess I'll just go to the 5 here, too. Obviously, this is the bad stuff here. 4 times in a 1 year and 11-year cycle, we can expect that to see this. And again, this is everything I just talked about before, plus just about any bad thing you can think of could happen with electricity, can happen with these kinds of storms. You know, we're talking if it's a big enough G5 storm, like, you know, like say we get a X10 class flare or something, we're talking we can fry lines and everything else. So we're talking, you know, the bigger ones of these are like Carrington Event and stuff like that. You start seeing auroras all the way down to the equator. That's what happens in these things. So I'm not saying we're going to get there. I don't think we're going to get to that this time. Okay. Anyway, I want to run that over with you guys real quick. Now I'm going to show you why. Okay. Let's see here. Oops. Okay, Christina, you still in there? If you're in there, please hold down the chat for me, okay? If you're going to hang out. If you can't, you can't. I get it. I knew I was going to have an issue with this today because I come on so early. But we'll see. I really haven't had that much problem with my chat, thanks to you guys. You guys are doing awesome. The mods and the subscribers. I mean, I like the way you guys are handling things, and I really appreciate that. So we'll put that away for a minute. Now, here's our, you know, like I said in my other video here, you see the G1 here? This is giving us the 24-hour observed maximums. Okay? So if we got to a G1 in the past 24 hours, this box will say G1. Now, the last observation would be here. It did not get into storm levels last observation. It dropped just barely below it, right? That's why this box isn't yellow. If we'd have looked at it 3 hours ago, where it was yellow, both of these would have been yellow. So, that's what we're looking at there. Now, this flare here, remember I told you guys in the stream I did earlier, it looked like a high class B or a small C class. Well, it ended up being a C1 class flare, which, you know, not really a whole lot to talk about there because there's not a whole lot of things that go on with that other than auroras and increased earthquake risks. Okay. So we'll go down here and we'll look at this ACE data first. Now, like I said before, when you're looking at this, you see the uptick. Okay, it's all upticking right now. The BZ up here is going negative, positive, all over the place. The triangle's jumping around. And this is what we can expect to see with this solar wind stream. Okay? It's not going to change for a few days. It's not going to become consistent anything. It's going to be jumping around, at least in my opinion. Okay, so here you got the Enlil model. And just like I showed you guys yesterday, we are, well, we're right here at the beginning, probably about right here. These are UTC time, so we're probably kind of here in time. We're just on that first hump of going up in solar wind speed. Okay, that's what this is. This is velocity. So it's saying it's going to stay at a consistent 600 or better for, look at that, guys, 3 days. So that's, you know, we're going to have a constant barrage of highly charged particles moving pretty quick. I can't tell you what the density is going to be. It looks like it's going to drop out and go below 5, which is kind of what we expect. Again, like I said, with high wind speed comes low density. Usually. Not always, but usually. Now, something else I like to take note of, I always look at these two guys. These are the conditions at stereo A, the red line is. So the model's seen something that got fired at stereo A that's going to impact it on the 29th or 30th. At least that's what this thing is saying. That will probably change a little bit because it's very inaccurate out this far. 2 to 3 days, I cut it at that. I usually don't even look over here. But this is saying that this model is detecting some sort of data is causing it to say, hey, this is going to jump up at stereo A position, which is down here. Okay? Earth is here, Sun, stereo A. Here's another place you guys can go to look. This is all on the same page, but it's all the same information, just presented in a different way. Here's the KP, okay? And if you these KP numbers will go directly right straight across with the storm level. See? 5 on the KP, G1. And it, on up. Now, if we're at a 4, they consider that very active conditions is what they call that. Again, it's just like, I guess it's like a thunderstorm warning system, like I've said before. You get your watches and you get your warnings, and then you get your, like, emergencies. They've added that the past couple years. If you ever hear of a tornado emergency, that pretty much tells you if you don't get underground, you're going to die. I mean, that's pretty much what it's saying. When they say tornado emergency, they know that there is a large tornado there for a fact with very, very high winds. They don't use that word lightly when they say emergency in a sense like that. That's something new the past few years. They used to stop it at tornado warning, if everybody remembers right. And even though that's bad enough, any kind of tornado you want to take cover. But if they say emergency, if you're in a mobile home or if you're in a place that don't have a basement, you better go find something. That's just what I'm saying. You probably won't have much time to act, so have a plan before, okay? I used to be deathly afraid of thunderstorms and stuff like that. I lived in a mobile home and stuff, and it really messed with me in my head. I'm over that now. Matter of fact, I love them now. I'll go search them out and look at them and be there when it happens. So, anyway. So as far as the auroras go, here you go with that. We will take a look at this time frame here, or this time lapse. Again, you're going to see this stick around like this, and you're going to see little greens and stuff pop down. Okay, do you guys see how that's kind of wobbling? Do you guys know why? Because the Earth's tilting because of the season change. So that means our magnetic north is moving. Not really moving, but it's staying in the same position with the, according to the Earth, and it moves back and forth a little bit. We're tilting, so that's why you're seeing that little bit of a wobble on that. It's nothing really big right there, but it's worth saying. That's why it looks like that, and it doesn't look like it's just dead over top of the North Pole. I said that because somebody asked that question. It's a very legitimate question, so. Okay, so we'll go over here real quick to space weather. Guys, this thing turned back into a sunspot. Remember what I said in my previous video? If it did, they would reassign it the same number, and that's exactly what happened. So, now we got 0 days without, they broke that streak again. Well, no, it broke it the other day, so it only stayed about a day without a sunspot, so that wasn't any kind of big deal. And right now we're at about a 6% increase from last year to this year. If you look at 77% to 71%, that may or may not go up or down. We're just going to have to wait and see. They solely use sunspots. That's it. Anything a sunspot that's facing Earth, that's what drives this percentage. No other data. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, here's the flare. You can see it right there. See that right there at the end, it flashes. It's pretty easy to see. Let's just zoom in here a little bit. See that? And it wasn't that big, but it was Earth facing, and we did take some energy from it. So there you go. Again, with a flare, the initial energy is there and gone within about 8 minutes. Okay. Here's some of the Aurora pictures. Look at that. Ain't that crazy? You know, Geir Vesden from the village of, I'm not even gonna try to say that. Picked up. He caught that. Okay, it looks like it was in Lofton, Norway. It's a geomagnetic storm in this Aurora vortex. It's a vortex of Aurora. In other words, the charged particles are actually doing that. Okay, and it does make sense because charged particles will follow those lines of magnetism. So it finds the weakest spot in and goes to ground. Okay, so that's what you're seeing. These particles are spiraling down that connection line because there was probably a crack in the geomagnetic in our shields. Okay, in our geomagnetic field, right? It's called the Russell-McPherson effect. You know, obviously he's the one that probably discovered that. We have multiple cracks and dents and everything else in our field. It's not perfectly smooth and consistent. So when we get these big events like this, they'll catch this every once in a while if those cracks are in the right spot. And even sometimes the solar wind events like this can cause extra cracks. When I say crack, it's just the magnetism in that area gets distorted and it opens up enough that this stuff comes in a lot easier. That's the fireball thing. I'm not going to go over that right now because it's not really that big of a deal right now. This here is, okay, this will tell you right now why we're seeing this, okay? You see how this well, you know what, in my last video, I showed you, all we had was probably a coronal hole about that size, right? Remember? Right in front of this? Now look at it. I mean, it's almost connecting all the way down straight through. So, you know, if this coronal hole closed up within the next 30 seconds, we would still be experiencing solar wind for the next 3 to 5 days. So until this gets off of here a little bit, we're going to have increased stuff for a while, guys. So, and the more consistent this stuff becomes, the easier it is to put us into a different storm level, right? We'll get more. Won't take as much. Let's go back here and I'll tell you why. So, you know, when you got a baseline up here, it doesn't take much to get you into a B or a C, right? Well, if the baseline was down here, it would take more. That's why. So when we get more consistent activity, it doesn't take a whole lot to bump us up into storm level. Now, radio propagation becomes issues too when we get really low. They're probably liking this. First responders, that's what they use for their communications, CBs and stuff like that, ham radios. Stuff acts better on the day side when we're getting this kind of activity for that communication for ham radio operators. I think this even kind of came into play in World War II when they were trying to, you know, drop the big bombs and stuff. And they had to go around weather. I know they had to go around weather, but I think space weather even came into a factor there a little bit. That tells you how long they've known that this stuff has been going on. That they're aware that space weather does affect everything. So here is, yeah, here's the magnetosphere. And I know everybody that watches this all the time, they're probably wondering, man, look at that. That's intense. And it is, okay? But this is what we would expect to see with the solar wind stream. So that's what's happening. The sun's over here, and it's firing stuff this way. So we'll push play and watch it, because it is, it's very interesting, to say the least. And we'll look at that pressure one a little bit deeper here in a minute. I'm going to X out some of this stuff just to make sure we don't start. Bring the chat up here for a minute. Hey, Hillbilly, how you doing, bud? Good to see you here, man. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Okay. I know it is, but okay, whatever. Stupid thing. Alright, It took a pin there. I didn't know it did that. Anyway, here's the density. See, look, watch this stuff. It becomes directional. You see how we're having a little bit more of an impact over here? And you can see how every once in a while we actually do a little bit of a discharge ourselves. Right here, watch this. See, it just did it a little bit, and it'll shoot right out the back. You know, we can only hold it enough energy, guys, until we can't hold it no more. And then we have to let it go somehow. And that's one of the reasons why earthquake risk goes up during this kind of stuff. So we'll go up here and watch the speed for a minute. This is the solar wind speed itself. You're going to see waves of stuff coming in. See that? So whenever you hear me saying, hey, we're getting stuff back here with no waves of activity, this is what I mean. Because we are getting waves right now. See that? So we would expect to see stuff back here. It's when we see stuff back here with no wave action. With nothing coming from that side, at least, that would be any different. So that's what's going on. That's why I wanted to show you guys that, because of that reason. Because I talk about that a lot. If we don't get waves from the front, but yet we're seeing stuff in the back, we have to look at different stuff. But this pressure here, guys, is very intense. It doesn't get any more intense than this color. But the fact of the area that it's covering right there is... yeah, that does show that, man, we're having some issues. As far as we're just got an uptick, right? So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to X out of that. So I will show you this one. Okay, this is the Australian model, guys, that I've been showing you guys for a while. I showed it to you guys the other day. I was showing it to you guys every day for a while. But this thing does give us a pretty good idea of what's going on. You know, for people that don't trust our government or trust our agencies, this is not ours. This is Australia. Okay? So if this thing matches up with the other, it kind of gives you a little bit better of a security there on what we're actually believing is true. Okay, if multiple agencies around the world are showing the same stuff, you know, and I understand that they could work together or whatever, but the chances of that happening in such a grand level on something like this is a little bit less, I would think. But there's the BZ, okay? Remember, if it ever gets into negative, that's when all that stuff, the doors open and more stuff comes out. So we'll play this again. That was the 26th. Let's go back to 25th. So, you know, what's good about this one too, it gives us a capture every minute. Okay? And that's what it'll do, which is good. Now, I've come over here and looked at this thing, guys, and I've watched this thing bounce all the way over here and then bounce right off the screen off the other way. That's when we got some pretty decent hits. That's called compression and then rapid expansion. We get hit so hard we have to push back real hard. And then when we win that battle for a minute, it shoots way out. So if you ever see that, if you're looking at these tools, that's what that is, and it's very normal. That's what we would expect. But here's the satellite line, right, guys? So our bow shock isn't actually coming in that far, but it does not mean that this stuff ain't coming in right there. Okay? Because it is. Some of it is. A lot of it's coming in through the poles, but some of it does come right through there. Especially when we're getting these big hits, okay? So yeah, so we got to watch for earthquakes too. Here's the earthquake model right now. Now, guys, I just looked at this like 10 minutes ago, and I can tell you within the past 10 minutes, this, that, and that was not there. Well, these two are the same. So these two right here weren't there. And they're not big, but it just shows that we're having some activity, okay? And just around the world we are, all over the place, right? This isn't nothing out of the ordinary, though. I want to say that, okay? But we got to watch it to see if it's going to do something, and it very well could. Now, remember, volcanic activity is also just about the same as an earthquake. You could kind of consider that when we're just kind of deciding what kind of seismic activity we're having. They both, you know, commit to that right up in there, right? So we got ISWA over here. Let me say hi to you guys real quick. So yeah. Yeah, sometimes, Nicholas. I mean, I know that sometimes future does prove the past, but we can't forget where we came from either. That's kind of what I would say to that. And again, guys, I don't hold grudges or hold any kind of ill feelings towards people that believe that. I don't. You know, I'm on the side of the globe here. I just nobody's ever brought to me a model that can predict anything on a flat Earth. It's just so hard to, man. And I get it. So anyway, we're gonna move. Well, I'm not gonna talk about that. So as long as it stays respectful over here in the chat, I don't care if you guys talk about that. That's fine. But just please don't let it get out of hand. It's a very polarizing subject. So here's our Magnetosphere tool right here that we usually look at, and we're going to see what we would expect. Okay, now remember last week when I was showing you this, and I was showing you stuff that was going this way? We're not seeing that right now. Why? Because we're getting a true coronal hole stream, a solar wind stream. Hey, Granny, how you doing? Thanks for being there. So yeah, I mean, this is what we would expect to see, okay? Nothing too crazy there. But here's the sun right now, too. Okay, and I went over to Seeds, guys, and Seeds isn't updating right now for some reason. We're 3 days with nothing from Lasco C2 over there. Roughly about the time I showed you guys that big object. Go figure, huh? So anyway, let me zoom in here a little bit. We'll get you in here a little closer. So if you watch the limbs here, you're going to see stuff take off the sun. Watch. I'm going to do it kind of quick so you can see it better. See that? Watch right here. See that? Now also, when you've seen that, watch up here. They're both going to the same spot. Watch. If you look at this little spiraling plasma here, or that gas right there, watch. Boom. They're both doing it at the same time. Now, I think if I go over here and look at the 304, and we will in a minute, you'll see that release and going off into space, I think. I think I already looked at it that way. So right about let me zoom in here. Right here is that solar flare, okay? That's the brightest as it got right there. And again, guys, it did turn into a sunspot again, so that is a sunspot. We were all kind of shocked a little bit when it first came in, and it wasn't. It didn't have the characteristics yet. But watch over here. You see how that stuff's just kind of hanging around? It's not really going out into space. So what that means to me, this is juiced over here right now. It ain't going to take much for that to happen over there. You can tell all this stuff is over here. Nothing's happening yet. Would it matter to us? Probably not, with it being over here. Anything going on here is really what we're really concerned about, and we pay attention to more. The stuff off the sides and goes off the back, yes, we talk about it because it does show activity on the sun, and sometimes it does affect us. But for the most part, what we're going to be affected by is stuff coming off the front disk of the sun. That's what they call this, guys. They call it a disk, just because of obvious reasons. It looks like a disk. They're not saying it is a disk. They're just saying, hey, that's what it looks like. Just terminology, that's all. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that little sucker there, too. All right? That's something that kind of popped up yesterday. You see how small it is there? That's when it first started to emerge. And it does look like it might be trying to flare a little bit. It's not a sunspot yet, and it's very small, but we'll watch it because I've seen stuff like that blow up into something bigger than this within 6 hours before. So with it being right here facing, we really need to pay attention to it. No fear, just be aware. Okay, guys? That's what you guys know I say that all the time. So we'll look at this and see if that little thing that happened down here, if it went on out into space. Yep. If you look right here, this is zoom in. That would be considered a small CME. Okay. So look right in here. I'll grab the slide bar. See that? You see the string here, and I'll watch it break off right here, and this little section will go that way. See that? That's the CME. Okay. Now, I guess it could have got recaptured as it moved on out. We just couldn't see it, but it does look like it went on out. Now, it's not going to come out to us, but you know what I mean? It's not going to come out and get us right there. It's moving the wrong direction, pretty much. Can't say that definitively without seeing some models, but yeah, I'm going to say that that's pretty much. Let's push play on this and just go up here and watch it. So you guys can see, I mean, this thing's cool just to put in this mode and just watch it. I mean, it's kind of satisfying just watching it. Relaxing almost. So we'll see the flare here too. We'll see if it shows up kind of bright or not. Yeah, there it went. It's really small, guys, and that's what I was trying to say earlier. This one here, did you see that little thing there around this little sunspot? Watch what happens right here at this spot when it cycles back through. Watch where my cursor is. See that? That was a little eruption. Very, very small, but it could have gave us some sort of a little bit of a flare. And it wouldn't mean a whole lot of anything. It's just, it happened, right? So it means it's active. It's a little active. It's not very strong. So we'll watch this, okay, is what I'm going to say. So let's do this real quick while I got us over here. Now, see again, check this out, guys. Remember a little while ago, a few hours ago when I did my other stream, how we had just had this orange outline, coronal hole number 1. Now they've added a second one. You see the blue lines? So this thing is getting bigger. The coronal hole is getting bigger. It's significant enough that it's down here on the equator of the sun. Basically, the northern coronal hole basically has opened up all the way down to here. What that means is that's just a bigger chance for us to continue to get solar weather. You're welcome, Texas. Thanks for being here. I try to, research this the best I can. Obviously, I've not been to school for any of this stuff. I would never even claim that. I'm at best an amateur at this as far as, trying to dig into the exact science of something. I mean, I can understand definitions, and I do have a pretty decent way of explaining it to people to where they can grasp it and understand it a little bit better. But as far as having great technical knowledge of physics and stuff like that, I do not. And I say that right off the bat. I've always said that. And, what I am decent at doing is showing observations and catching observations and noticing when something isn't what it was before. I notice change and I notice patterns. And that's what allows me to, see the stuff that I see. It's not because I have some grand, knowledge of anything. It's just that right there. So, thank you, Christine. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I rock. I appreciate the compliments, guys. I just try to keep it real. That's just what I do. I want to have all that knowledge, but I know, I'm 47 years old. 46, I guess. What year? 45. Yeah. Born in 75, so it makes me 45. See, I got to do the math even on my own age. Oh my goodness, man! Wow. But anyway, yeah, So at this point, I could go take classes and I could probably do well in that. But I'm not, I got kids and a family, and I'd rather spend that time with them. And that's just how I look at it. But I do. I try to dig into this the best I can. And on that note, why I got you guys here, I want you guys to go check these sites out on your own. I really do. I want you guys, because one of these days, guys, I'm not going to be here. And you guys are going to have to know what you're looking at. You know what I mean? At least have a good idea of what I just said, right? So if you come over here to ISWA, and you put this on anything, any of these sub-tabs, okay, we'll do the coronal hole. Look what happens there. You see what happens? That dropped down, and it tells you exactly what you're looking at. And then, some of them aren't as descriptive, but you can, once you see this, you can go into what it's talking about. You can go research that. So, yeah. Raise your hand if you wear a mask. Yeah, that's a big subject. That's a subject that, another hot subject. I'll tell you that. People are polarized on that too. There aren't many things in this world anymore, guys, that's not polarized. And because of that, people have gotten afraid to talk about anything. I refuse to get myself there. I'll put it out there with my opinion, and if people don't want to hear my opinion, they don't have to listen. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to go at them, but I'm not going to let them come at me either. It's got to stand strong and keep an open mind at the same time, and know when to fold and when not to. Pick your battles. It's like, me and my wife, we chose what battles to fight when it came to our kids. Like, some parents are really, really strict on like haircuts and stuff like that. For me, that is it's how kids sometimes express themselves. So instead of getting upset about that, I just let them pick their haircut within reason. And, I've let my kids get mohawks. I'll let them dye their hair, all that kind of stuff, right? And let me tell you something. At the end of the day, when they become adults, guess what? They end up being like yourself. They will mimic you. They learn from you by watching you. Not because of what you let them do. You let them come to what they wanted to believe. By, showing them a good example and not fighting over stuff that doesn't mean a whole lot. You can let your kids do things like that and still be comfortable knowing that they're going to turn out okay. And I know that this ain't what this channel's about, but that's how I do it, guys, and that's really how I think my kids have benefited from that. I'm not against like punishing a kid with a spanking or something like that, but each child is different. So, for my kids, yes, I had to spank them when they were really little, and I never spanked them hard. The hardest I ever spanked my kids was when my middle son was about 3 years old, and I told him to stay away from the driveway. I turned my head for like 2 seconds, and he starts going down the driveway, and the driveway is slanted down at like a 30-degree pitch. He ended up out in the middle of a busy road before I could get to him. And I'm telling you, I wore him out on the way back to the house, but that's what I'm talking about, Those are the kind of things they need to be punished for, because it can hurt them. Not a haircut, you know what I mean? That's the difference. So anyway, and again, even the haircut stuff has to be within reason. I get that. You're not going to let them do something that's completely against your religion, for example, or for, it's going to make them look so disrespectful to somebody that people would be offended in such a way that they couldn't come back from that. But I let my kids do that, and believe it or not, they come around to the same way that I'm thinking. I got a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old. And both of those pretty much share my moral values, not because I forced it on them, but because I let them watch me do what I do and not be too overcorrective. Anyway, I'm not a child psychologist, but that's just what I've been a parent for 25 years, so. And that's another thing, guys. You never stop raising them kids. I promise you that. That's something I learned. You never will. So, you guys got any questions before I get off here? I'm not going to go into too much more. I just wanted to bring that to you. I'll hang out with you here for a second and see what we got. You guys got any questions? Now's the time to ask, okay? I'm going to look at the chat here and see if we got anything going. Exiled, you're in here? Hey, good to see you. Didn't see you there for a minute. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Exile. If people that, if you are a Bible-believing person, for the most part, it has to boil down to sowing those seeds and keeping them watered. And you don't have to beat somebody over the head with it. If you beat somebody over the head with any subject, they're going to close down and not listen to you. I promise. I'm not even kidding about that. That's one thing I'm so serious about. I will not try to force anything that I say or do onto anybody, including my kids. Because that's what causes them to be rebellious. And, if I'm trying to get somebody to understand something that I think I understand that's good information, I can't go smack them in the face with it, guys. It never works. People turn and they go the other way and they just get mad. And when I'm mad, I don't hear nothing but, sirens and bells going off. Oh, what happened to that? Nothing. I think he's just taking a break as far as I'm not sure if he's over on his Twitter and Facebook accounts. He may be. I think I'm wanting to say, is he on DLive or Twitch or something too? I'm not really sure. But, yeah, sometimes Dutch does that. If there's really not much going on, he's got a family too, and he'll back off, and wait till something to happen. So, yeah. That's, yeah. I'm not even going to go into that, because if I start saying that word right there, this thing will get smacked this video will get smacked right across the face. See you, Skywatcher. Good to see you. Yeah. Did you guys see the Fox report when they came out? It was back in 2019. Using the same picture that they used when they reported her death. But they said her death was in 2019. Did you guys see that story? I would ask you guys to go look at that, because that really does show you that, man, you wonder, man, why would they even have to have something like that with the wrong date on it a year before it actually happens? Yeah. It really does. Yeah, Brandon. That awesome. That was awesome. That was on point. Yeah. You got me laughing. Wow, that's good. Thank you for that. That was a good one. See you, Mucking. See you later. Hey, Taylor. Good to see you again. I am gonna be logging off here, guys. I'm gonna keep this one short. So, again, I'll be going back to some of my edited videos. I may do a daily update video, and then add some live streams in, every so often. But I'm starting to get used to this software now and what's going on with the live streaming stuff. So that was the whole reason of keeping doing the live streams for a couple weeks. But I will be going back to doing some of the edited videos, because I know it does cut down on the time that you guys have to sit here and listen to me talk. So I get it. I really do. I'm the same way. I don't want to go to somebody's channel. Like I did that 3-hour and 45-minute live stream the other day. I would have never done that unless people were in there being, were actually engaging. They had a lot of questions. So I stayed there, and Scott was showing some pictures. He came in the chat, wanted me to show some stuff, and we showed you guys some pretty crazy stuff right on the spot that he had just sent to me, and I had to pull it up. You guys seen what I did. But those big long live streams like that, I try to avoid because people just will not click on a video like that. I won't. I might click on it and then skim through it, and if I don't see something like right away, I move on. But well, you're welcome, James. I appreciate everybody here. So, yeah, that was a good live, wasn't it, gods? That was a good one. Then I mean, we really did. We were communicating, and I had fun with that one, especially because I got to talk to you guys. I mean, that's really what I'm doing some of this. So, I am going to go ahead and cut it, guys. All the mods, Hilly, Christine, Exile. Let's see who else is in here. Oh yeah, Isaiah's granny. Thank you. I appreciate all you guys' help here, and yeah, I'm glad you guys did. I really am. So, thank you to all the subs that dropped by here. I know I just did one a few hours ago, but I wanted to give you an update on that situation with the. Let me do this real quick. Let's see here. I want to see if they gave us the next update on the space weather. See if we're still in storm level or not. Let me do that real quick for you guys, and we'll look at it just 2 seconds here. I'll be able to tell you. Nope, it hasn't updated yet. Okay. So, anyway, guys, be safe. Have a great weekend. Be good to each other. Good to yourselves. God bless. Yahuwah saves, and you can drink.